Hello everyone, I'm actually making a video, hooray! In today's video, I'm going to be using old ideas from Spark. Now, if you don't know what Spark is, it was a creative drawing app that Mariah Elizabeth had made, but it's not a thing anymore, you can't get it. I have an old section in my notes app, which has all these ideas that were from Spark. Spark would give you 3 prompts a day. But you could also, there's a section where you could ask the other people on Spark for their ideas. And I would keep all these ideas in a section in my notes app, labeled Spark Ideas, very original there, I know. And my ideas, which are empty, because I guess I did them all, and my sister's ideas. And slowly but surely, I would go through them. Now, I was going to make this a once-a-month thing on Spark. However, it shut down, so that's not really an option anymore. But I want to still use these because I know some people who are on Spark have come here. Very glad that you guys are here. And I want to still do these ideas. Now, I want to add a little extra to it too and make the medium that I do this in randomized. So the way that I have to do that is I have cards of all of the different things I could do. So we'll randomly choose that just to add some more fun to this. This isn't everything I could technically do. I have ink, which is my only black and white one. But I also could do just like pencils or charcoal, but I figured that was boring because most of the suggestions are like characters. And I mean, you want to see the characters that you like in color, right? So I only did the one because it's the least annoying. But I know YouTube likes to watch people struggle. So I might add that in. Just depends. The way that I'm going to choose which prompt or idea that I draw from Spark is that I have my iPad here and we're going to randomly generate a number. I have 32 prompts. So let's get started. 3. Okay, Bluey and Bingo. Now, I know my younger sisters definitely suggested this. They are obsessed with Bluey. This is another one I don't want to be in ink because it'd be kind of boring to see them in ink. Now, mix. Okay, Bluey and Bingo in markers. I could do that. Okay, so I have my Ahoo sketchbook, and I only have Ahoo markers, not sponsored. I just think they're good and they're cheap. So yeah, I guess I'll start drawing. I did the sketch in a light blue color pencil, so you wouldn't see it when I use the markers, but you can't see it now, so we're just gonna zoom through this real quick. Okay, I don't know if this counts as cheating, but I think I'm gonna use the color pencils as like a line art. It may or may not be cheating, but you can't really line with markers. Okay, so the main colors are gonna be the markers, right? The color pencils are gonna be just the lines to define it better. So it's fine. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's what I'm going with. Okay, now that you guys can actually see what's going on, I can talk about what's going on. I've tried to draw Bluey and Bingo on Spark a few times, but because of the way their bodies are just so square, it's really awkward for me to draw them. And you can definitely see that in this drawing. I think this is definitely one of the better times I've drawn Bluey and Bingo, because I've drawn a lot of Bluey characters on my whiteboard for my younger sisters, but my mom erased it recently as soon as I needed a picture of it, so I can't show you guys. But back to this drawing. I didn't think at all about the pose that I was doing them in. I just kind of did the first thing that came to mind, and it ends up being kind of boring because of that. I definitely should have thought about it more. Another thing I could have done a better job with is their eyebrows. I loved the dot floating eyebrows. They're how I draw my eyebrows on my characters and stuff, and I just didn't use them to the full extent that they could be used, and that kind of making me mad now looking back at it. Now onto some good things about this piece. I think I did a good job at least posing Bluey, despite the boxiness of her. She came out very dynamic and expressive. Not nearly as expressive as I would have liked, but more expressive than Bingo and previous drawings I've done. Bingo's rather stiff and inexpressive in this drawing. She suffers from some boxiness, which is a shame because in the show, both the girls are very expressive, and it's always fun to see them making all the kinds of faces and stuff, and I just failed them in that sense in this drawing. The general idea of this drawing was Bluey being like, "Bingo, look, it's a butterfly," and Bingo being like, "It's a butterfly," but it's kind of boring to look at. Like, I could have done so much more interesting things with it, but I didn't because I failed. But after erasing the darker bits of my sketch that you still can't even see on camera, we can move on to colors. So I did just realize that I didn't have it filming sideways, so that video is gonna be all weird. But it's marker time. Okay, now time for colors. I hadn't seen the flaws that I had pointed out to you previously in this piece yet by the time I started colors, so I was really feeling it. I was really excited for how this was going to look because I thought I was doing great. But it's not as bad as I'm making it sound. It's it's better than it could have been, which I guess isn't really high praise, but color-wise it went fairly well. It's traditional art, so there's always the if I only had one shade lighter or one shade darker thing to it that you don't get with digital art, which is what I'm used to. So I did have that struggle, but otherwise it was fine. This bit with the lighter blue on bluey was a bit of a struggle because I had one plan going into it, and then I put the first color down, and I realized that it was going to be way too dark, so I had to pivot real quick. Out of all of my traditional art mediums, markers is probably the ones that I'm most used to. There's a reason I have a whole wall full of them. They're just what I usually go to if I have to color anything traditionally. So it wasn't like I was really struggling to color this, because I know what I'm doing with the markers. I'm confident with most of the mediums I have. The one I'm least confident with would probably be watercolors, but I want to change that because watercolor paintings look so good, and I definitely need that. Okay, but back to this piece. There are definitely a few things about the colors that I would like to change if I could have, but, you know, hindsight is 20/20. Oh, also, their eyes are black in the show, and I don't draw my eyes as pure black, so I just made them the darkest color of their fur so that I wouldn't have to add any new colors or anything. But back to the coloring bit. In the video, Bingo's colors look a lot better than they do in person because my lighting is very yellow, so the colors end up looking more orangey than they do red, but in real life, they look a lot more red, which you'll see with the final picture of them both. So Bluey wins in both pose and color, I guess. While coloring Bingo real time, though, I thought she was winning because I thought it was looking way better. Because there were certain things about Bluey that I wasn't liking at the time, mostly her lighter blue spots. And Bingo, I just did a better job of thinking through all my colors and stuff. So I thought she was looking way better, but she's way too red. I don't really have too much left to say right now, so enjoy the silence, I guess. Okay, so I didn't like the fact that the characters were just floating in a void, so I gave them a background, but the background kind of ruined everything because of how I shaded this grass. It is actually the most annoying thing about this piece, because there's like the lighter grass and then there's the shadows, but it like doesn't blend at all, and it really bothers me, and it kind of ruined everything. But the sky looks fairly good, besides for the fact that it's really streaky, which is just because I'm bad with markers. But the way that I did the clouds just being like solid white so that it wouldn't like take too much away from the characters and they would still stand out, I like how I did that. But the grass, it just ruins the background and ruins everything. And I really thought that the sky was going to be harder to do because Bluey is blue, so she's going to blend into the blue sky, and the grass was going to stand out just fine and it wasn't going to be hard. But I was wrong. So then I added some quick highlights, and then we're done. Okay, well, Bluey and Bingo are done. That looked pretty good. So let's pick the next one. Technically, there are only 31 options now. But I'll figure that out later. 8. Okay. 8 is Miraidon, the Pokemon. I think that's how you say that. So let's pick what medium I'm going to be using. I'm really hoping for something fast. Break those up. And not like paint, like, that would probably be ideal. Oh, we just did markers. Do we do markers again? Or do I pick something else? Is it gonna be cheating if I pick something else? I feel like we just did markers. That would be boring to do it twice. Let's pick something else. Wow. Paint pens. Hooray. I can do that. To start off, I'm just gonna like try and sketch some ideas. Because I don't really know what I'm doing with this thing. Okay, so this is the crucial step that Bluey and Bingo were missing, where I actually sat down and thought up ideas. I had to do this because Miraidon is such a weird pose. Either his bike or his normal pose is just so strange to me. I don't know. But after getting a rough idea of what I wanted to do, I pull out my Bristol board and start sketching away on that. The idea that I ended up going with was basically just his like normal key art pose, but from the top perspective. General tip, if you don't know how to pose anything and want to make it interesting, just do it from the top perspective. It ends up looking way cooler for some reason. I don't know. That's just was my thought process doing this. I also chose his normal pose because I really like the way his tail looked, and I couldn't find it during his bike form, so I went with this because I wanted to draw his tail. For a second, I thought of doing Lolly on top of his bike form, but then I was like, I don't know if I really want to do that. That makes Lolly more of the center than Miraidon, and Miraidon's the character I'm drawing. Having paint pens to do Miraidon in actually worked out really well because, well, he's like metallic mostly. And even when I draw digitally, I don't tend to blend the shading of like metals. So this medium and this character actually ended up working really well. I mean, besides for, it's traditional, so I wish I had one shade lighter or one shade darker. But you can't do anything about that. I didn't have to change or add too much color-wise because I basically had all of his colors with my paint pens. But I did add a little pink to the gradient in certain areas because I don't like when two opposite colors blend into each other, because if you were to blend it, well, it's not an issue with paint pens because you can't really blend them, but if you were to blend it, you would get like a muddy color in the middle, so I usually add another mid-tone in between to help blend that easier. The biggest struggle with this piece was definitely having to wait for the paint to dry because I'm just so impatient. It takes like a minute, but I still have my hand right on top of the wet paint. And I had to figure out, which took a while to beat into me, that I should start from the left and work my way to the right because I'm right-handed. That way I'm not drawing over top of wet paint. Okay, actually I lied. The biggest struggle was getting straight, crisp lines because I'm so shaky when I draw. And I actually failed on that. I tried my best, but it wasn't going to happen. I knew it wasn't going to happen from the beginning. You may be looking at this piece now and thinking, wow, this actually looks pretty good. That's what I was thinking too while I was doing it. And then I was looking at his tail, which I didn't have done at the time, and thinking, if I screw that up, my favorite part of his design, then I'm going to be so mad at myself. So I was kind of avoiding doing his tail, but the time came and I had to do it anyways, so I powered through, and it looked good. I didn't screw it up. Hooray! I added some detail in the yellow with a darker yellow that you really couldn't see in person. You can probably see it better on camera, actually. You can really see it in the picture I have. It's like too much. It's over-defined. I didn't need that much. But I picked a background color. It was between a yellow, a pink, and a blue. I ended up going with the blue. Maybe the wrong choice in your opinion, but it's what I went with. And I added a white outline around him. My favorite one of the two was Miraidon, but which one did you guys like better? So yeah, that's it. Don't get your guys' hopes up that this means I'll be posting videos consistently. Unlike most people, the summer is actually when I have the hardest time drawing and stuff. So definitely not over the summer. When my volleyball season starts and school starts, I'll have more time to start drawing and make another video, hopefully. Anyways, thanks for watching.